I'm Maya Geis. It's a Panakin production, and this is Whitewater. If you spent any time with me, you've heard me talk about my mini psychics. Well, they'd probably cringe hearing me call them that. They're more like empaths, people that are perceptive enough to understand you better than you may understand yourself. People that can mirror you enough to show you aspects of yourself or your world that may have been invisible or unknown to you before. It's a bit counterintuitive, but I found that the more open I've become, the more aligned, you could say, I've become with what I believe to be my path, the more I trust myself, and the more interesting, the more useful these conversations with empaths has become. It's one thing to feel something inside of yourself, quite another to have that instinct, that intuition validated by a third party. A third party whose only concern is offering you a better look at you. There's one woman in particular that I love, Sylvie. She's amazing. It's not a conversation, I barely talk. She talks to you. And her insight is always spot on. In fact, I've referred her to many of my friends, and we love swapping stories.
She told me, she's like, you're going to have a lot of money. And I'm like, yes, please. Like, Lord.
I love the head roll. That's my friend Victoria telling me about a conversation she had with Sylvie. Excuse my screaming laughter. Victoria's animated, and she made a gesture that, in combination with this bit of insight, had me rolling. That's hilarious.
And then she did tell me, too, she was like, you're going to have a husband, and he's going to be very handsome.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's going to be something to look at. And I'm like...
I don't doubt it. It's the kind of prediction we'd all love to get. You're going to be rich with an attractive partner. Look, given the source and the recipient, I believe it. But these stories of conversations with empaths can get very interesting.
My friend had an interesting story where she saw a past life regressionist, and she felt like she's always misunderstood in life, and that was just like this big thing for her. And this guy was like, I'm picking up that you were in some Native American tribe and you were a little boy, and there were some white colonizer, pioneers, whatever. You were on the outskirts of your village in the forest, and they have manipulated you and were talking to you and being like friendly, and you said something that gave them some sort of information, and then the next day the whole village was wiped out and they killed everyone to clear the land. The little boy, or sure, her past life survived, and she felt such guilt and felt like it was a misunderstanding. And she said whenever he told her that, she just suddenly immediately started crying, and then she just felt way better and so much lighter, and she hadn't had an issue of feeling misunderstood after that.
It's like, these clips that you on Instagram that's like, talk shows in the early 2000s were crazy. And it'll be like this girl gets up and she's like, she's like in the audience, I've always had trouble with public speaking. And the woman on stage was like, of course you do, because in a past life you were a witch and they burnt you with this. Yeah. There's a part of me that wants to do the past life thing and see, but I also just don't even want to know. I think I'm enjoying making sense of my life right now.
Yeah.
I feel blessed to be in this body and in this life.
Yeah. And thank God we're cute.
Thank God we're cute. But in all seriousness, in the event that you're a skeptic, a non-believer, you're thinking how corny, how predictable. Here's something else my friend Victoria learned while talking to a empath, or this guy, actually.
It was Jay Luna. He's an Ayurvedic astrologer. But yeah, he told me that like in a past life, I think I was in my 30s, I died from a fall, like off a cliff. And he said in this lifetime, there was some residue of that. And he said, it's not going to kill you. And then after the reading, I was like, oh, well, I actually like fell 5 stories off a building. And he's like, oh, okay, it already happened.
In case you missed that, she told him that she'd actually already fallen 5 stories off a building. He didn't want to scare her, so he was relieved to hear that whatever he was seeing had already taken place.
And I was like, wow. But I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what?
It was a crazy thing to hear, particularly since it was true. How could he have known? Good insight can completely change something. Well, maybe not the thing itself, but certainly one's perception of the thing, which inevitably affects the relationship to the thing, be it a person, a place, an experience. How we feel about things, how we respond to, behave around, and adjust our lives to accommodate said feeling about said thing can have a huge influence on what we do, who we are, and inevitably, what we're capable of. So, back to Sylvie. Well, she's told me a couple interesting things. I tend to rush. I want things fast. I want them now. And recently, she reminded me that we have to go slow to go fast. We have to slow down to be happier. I've been particularly interested in the old story of the tortoise and the hare, and as soon as this was introduced as a metaphor, she explained that I'm interested in the story because it is, in a way, my story. The hare rushes because she's scared. The tortoise, on the other hand, I actually wrote it down, not to be too obnoxious, but she said this quote to me. She said...
Not obnoxious at all.
She says, the tortoise isn't afraid. She's enjoying being. The tortoise is enjoying being. So the tortoise trusts from experience. She's fearless because she trusts.
Man.
The lesson being that when I'm feeling like the hare and I want to rush, 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 do, it's time for me to be a happy tortoise.
I like the explanation of that. It gives a sense of comfort because our human minds want to know everything and makes us feel like we're in control when we're really not in control of anything.
Sylvie also introduced the idea of alchemy to me, the act of turning poison into medicine. It's the greatest gift we can give ourselves, to take the things that were meant to destroy us and to use them as the seeds of creation, whatever that may mean to you. We can wallow in old stories, or we can use them as fuel, the kind of fuel that prepares us, that propels us into more desired futures and worlds. Alchemy. That's what we're going to talk about today, with a very special person, an exceptionally talented artist and muralist, and my dear, dear friend, Victoria Cassinova. Victoria's an LA-based visual artist whose work often deals with the unconscious and the unseen. Her honest, multimedia style blends bold portraiture with colorful, abstract textures, touching on themes of identity, resilience, and community. Known for her large-scale public murals, her unique approach has made her a sought-after collaborator for brands like Netflix, Disney's Pixar, New York Theater Workshop, CNN, Adidas, Time Magazine, The Washington Post, Teen Vogue, and many political and social justice programs. Self-taught and fiercely expressive, Victoria's art is as much about social commentary as it is about beauty, making her one of the most compelling creative voices in LA's contemporary art scene today. Before we get too far into this episode and Victoria's story, I just want to say that the first time I saw Victoria's work, I felt like I was looking at myself. It was a portrait of a naked woman laying almost twisted on the ground with a monster face. The piece was a part of a series she was inspired to create while in the midst of what was a pretty incredible, life-changing experience, a whitewater experience we're about to discuss. It's the one her Ayurvedic astrologer predicted, her fall.
My name is Victoria Cassinova, and I'm an artist. I'm an artist.
Yes, you are.
So in practical terms, I paint and draw mostly in realism. I paint figurative work primarily, but the figurative work is more in realism mixed with sometimes abstract-ish elements or playful scribbly stuff, and I mix it with collage and texture. So multimedia a little bit. And then in terms of the intentional aspect of the craft, my work is very alchemical. I'm just really interested in alchemy. Finding beauty from discomfort or from deep pain or from trauma and creating something from that, because I want to create pathways of healing or just new perspective of the human experience. I'm fascinated by darkness or the darkness of our experience. I don't mean murders and satanic weird stuff. I mean more our sadness and how, as a human, you cannot escape pain. You can't escape suffering no matter who you are. That's a part of the human experience. And so I believe that everything in our experience can be used as fuel for something more. It's always a gift, although it can be like extraordinarily painful
Yeah.
at times, depending. But I feel like so many people don't want to face their discomfort. Nobody wants to be in discomfort, but it's like if you don't face it, you're missing out on so much expansion.
Yeah, that's where the growth happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you got to grow the rose in the dark.
Yes. But to that end, I mean, that's why I like being an artist. Not always, but I suppose it can feel productive.
Yeah. It's like an immediate outlet for me to generate alchemy or like put whatever I'm going through on canvas. And it's not always every single piece is coming from discomfort, but it is definitely a natural aspect of art making in general, maybe.
Meeting Victoria, I never questioned her identity as an artist. She feels so sure, so grounded in her craft. I mean, she's so talented. She seems so advanced. I had no idea that this identity as a quote unquote artist was relatively new for her. I mean, she's always been an artist, but her decision to go all in as a fine artist wasn't immediate.
So I always wanted to be an artist, but I never thought I would make it. I never thought I'd make it into a full-blown career, but the desire to like be artist was brewing very strongly. I remember in high school when I had my first heartbreak, I made this painting with this like broken face and I like posted it on my like MySpace or Facebook at the time. And I was like, this painting was made from heartbreak. And then my ex-boyfriend at the time commented on it. And he's like, oh, this is beautiful. And I was like, it was because of you. And like on the comments. And I think about that sometimes. He's probably like, you weirdo. But I was always like making stuff about what I was feeling.
So it's 2015. She's working for Urban Outfitters as a graphic designer, designing men's shirts mostly.
And I was doing like 8 to 10 graphics a day. It was insane. I was making so much art and I was honestly killing it. And I remember I had like my little office desk and I would bring an art piece to my office and put it under my desk. And like in between making graphics, I would go underneath the desk and draw my art like in between. And then I go home and make my art. Like my dream was to like be in a gallery and do a mural. At the time I was making this thing called my orb series. And I was like trying to draw energy. And I would make these crazy like patterns. It was all abstract. It was like different like energy forms. Like this is what the energy of honoree looks like. And then this is what the energy of joy looks like. Or like, and I would call them orbs. Like there were orbs of energy. And I was super fascinated by water and how water, like its molecular makeup can be influenced by consciousness. And so I was doing that.
When did you decide when did you go all in?
After my accident.
Oh, okay.
I was like, fuck this. I'm going to do what I want to do because I just almost died. Right before my accident, I had just gotten a new job that was really good paying. And I had just moved to this new apartment, which was so cute. It was like brick walls and overlooked Hollywood and was just like really, really cute. I lived there for a month, had this new job. I felt great. And I felt like just more secured in my life. I only lived there for a month. And then my accident happened and I just lost everything. Like everything just completely crumpled down. It was like the rug just got pulled out from under me.
Okay, so tell me then about that night.
So I only remember up until I literally fell. But I was living in Hollywood. We were at some bar, someone's birthday, I remember. I was with my best friend at the time, and she brought this, like, boy with her. I can't remember who he was or his name. But we all three are walking back to my apartment, and I realized I locked my keys in my apartment because I always freaking did that. And the rule for this new apartment was, like, if you lock your keys in your apartment, the landlord will not help you. You have to call a locksmith. Like, the locksmith costs, like, a ridiculous amount of money. I was like, screw this, I'm gonna scale the building, and just like hop through my window because like I'm like that, and I can, I'm 22 and nothing bad happens to me. And mind you, I'm like wearing high heels and everything. It was like one of those like historic old Hollywood buildings, and I had an outdoor fire escape, and I just climbed all the way to the top, and my window was open.
Yeah,
my window was like a short distance from the edge of the balcony, and there was an air vent in between. So I was like, oh, I'll just hop over and bloop. So I went to go over and I just like slipped and fell. But what's crazy about this moment, and I'll never forget, is I remember feeling the sensation of like, you know, when you're falling or free falling and you get butterflies in your tummy.
I hate that feeling.
Yeah, I just remember that sensation when I was like, oh, this is happening.
Wow.
Luckily, the ground was like dirt. It was like hardened dirt. If it was concrete, I would have probably been like soup. But
crazy.
yeah. But I remember thinking, I was like, okay, I'm falling. This is happening. I just had this moment of like radical surrender. Like something came over me that just profoundly relaxed. And I was just like, okay, this is happening. Okay. And then I don't remember anything after that.
But as they say, the body keeps a score.
I should go through injuries. Had 4 brain traumas, so 4 brain bleeds. My lumbar spine was completely displaced. And so basically the bottom half of my spine just like broke in half pretty much and sunk under my pelvis.
Oh, whoa.
And like, yeah. And then my pelvis got fractured and my right foot was just like crushed. My mom said when she came to the hospital, she's like, your foot was just like flopped all the way in this very odd, very weird position.
Her tailbone was also shattered in pieces. The tissue on her left foot was torn. After a fall like that, you'd expect her injuries to be bad. But honestly, and this was something I never knew and that Victoria didn't tell me until later in our conversation, but her injuries were made worse, much worse, because of the people she happened to be with at the time, her then best friend and her friend's friend. I could tell this made Victoria uncomfortable to talk about because of its sensitive nature, but also because a lot of the information is hearsay. You see, Victoria's best friend never actually came clean about all the details from that night. She was under 21, drunk, and, according to her roommate, was high on Xanax. So, when Victoria falls and they find her, bleeding profusely and crying on the ground, instead of immediately calling paramedics, they decide not to get help for fear that they might get in trouble for being young and, well, under the influence.
I don't think they understood what happened really, or like how far I felt. But the issue with that is like, if you know, just generally, or even in sports, like if anybody has a spinal injury or anything like that, you don't touch them.
You don't touch them.
Yeah. They picked me up and put me in an Uber. So what happened was, since my spine was displaced, when they picked me up, the whole bottom half of my spine like sunk under my pelvis. And so when they sat me in the Uber, I was basically sitting on my spine.
You weren't conscious.
And I don't remember this, but I was apparently awake. My best friend at the time, I guess I was crying, and she put a Xanax in my mouth to make me relax, I guess.
Oh, wow.
And they said there was blood all over the Uber. And then they took me into her apartment, and she had 2 roommates. These girls were all like my friends. And they said there was just blood everywhere, and they were trying to wrap my feet in fabric and stuff. And then eventually they just dropped me off at the hospital. And the drama with it all, which I can't believe, but this is just what happened, was that she didn't want to tell my family what happened.
She told Victoria's family and friends that Victoria was drunk and jumped off her balcony. It took a lot of prodding to get certain details, and the stories just weren't matching up. By the time Victoria made it to the hospital, she had lost so much blood she needed 2 blood transfusions. And when you get a blood transfusion, the blood has to match. So the hospital takes her blood to run a blood test and goes, huh?
They said there's no alcohol in her system, but there's a sedative, which is the Xanax.
So Victoria's mom confronted her friend, who got defensive and continued to lie. Because the only thing worse than your best friend dying or being paralyzed for the rest of their lives is being held accountable for drinking underage, which, unless you're driving, is like a $250 fine.
Eventually, when I was in the ICU, her roommates came and just told my parents what actually happened. And my ex at the time, he said he was in the elevator with her at the hospital to visit me. And like, she stopped them in the elevator and she's like, don't tell Victoria's mom. Like, don't say anything.
Oh my gosh. Eventually, Victoria came to.
I don't remember like waking up in the hospital or that moment, but I remember my mom telling me there was a point where I like couldn't tell the time. Like I looked at the clock and I didn't know like what I was looking at.
Because of the brain injuries.
But then luckily my brain came back.
What was going through your mind? Like when you can remember waking up and coming to and having a little bit more like self-awareness.
I don't remember.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I really don't remember. I think they had me on a lot of pain medication.
Oh, you're just not even thinking at that
Yeah,
point.
like I don't remember, but my mom remembers, I mean, everything.
In the story of Victoria's recovery, her mom emerged a hero.
The first hospital wasn't going to operate on me. They were just going to leave me with my back broken pretty much, and they were gonna give me like a colostomy bag and said I probably wasn't gonna walk again.
Crazy.
They gave me this botched surgery on my foot that they shouldn't have done, and my foot started slowly to become necrotic, and so they almost had to amputate it because the skin was just turning black. My mom fought insurance to get me over to USC Keck, which is out of my network, and they finally operated on me because this other hospital just didn't have the right doctor, so like operate on my type of spinal injury.
Whoa.
And so had my mom not fought with her whole life to get insurance to let me go to another hospital, I would have very well been unable to walk. I would have been in a wheelchair and probably not had my right foot.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, you want to believe that you're going and almost any doctor
Can save you or help you.
can either save you or help you or tell you, look, I can't help you, but these people can.
Right.
We're not going to operate on you and like give you some fucked up final scenario, or like we're not going to give you a colostomy. We're going to be like, look, these are your options.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But so then how long were you in the hospital?
I was in the hospital for 3 months. But my mom, she stopped her whole business, everything, and stayed with me in the hospital every single day for 3 months.
Wow.
Stopped everything, and she was there the whole time.
She went from the hospital to her mom's house in San Diego, where she was in recovery for a full year. Her mom went back to work. Her family and friends would visit. Someone would come by for physical therapy. It took her 6 months to learn how to walk again.
It was brutal because I couldn't walk, so I was like bedridden for a lot of the time. Like my mom had to help me take showers and stuff, and it was awful. All I wanted to do was get right back to LA. My friends would visit me in the hospital, and I remember feeling so deeply envious that they could walk around my bed. And that was such a new feeling for me that I never, like the whole time I was like there and I'm just like, okay, I'm in the hospital. I finally got operated on. I'm going to heal. My foot's not going to be gone. When is this going to be over? Blah. And then my friends would come, and something deeper in me felt this envy that they could like walk and I couldn't. And I hadn't felt that before. It was interesting.
Personally, as someone who is very restless and who has never had this level of debilitating injury, I honestly can't imagine how she must have been feeling. I was curious. How do you endure something that leaves you feeling so stuck?
I was doing a lot of meditation, and spirituality was like huge for me during that time. But there was a lot of frustration in me that whole time. So in terms of what I did, I was like making a lot of art and watching a lot of movies, because what else could I do? I remember like teaching myself more about like color theory during that time, thanks to the University of YouTube. And I was making this artwork that I called like diary series at the time, and I would draw like my body with a bag over the head that said out of order, like kind of taking away identity. So I felt like I was, what was interesting is like I felt like my body didn't belong to me anymore, but in addition to that, I felt like the accident happened to my body, but it didn't happen to me. Like it was like this weird internal separation I had with my body, and I never felt worried that much about healing. I was just annoyed, and I was like, oh God, can I just like heal already so I can like get going and like get to my life? But I felt such a disconnect with my body. It was weird. And I still kind of feel that way. Like I'm not traumatized by it at all. Like I'm not emotionally attached to it. I don't know if that's some sort of like psychological protection mechanism that my brain has kept in place since then. I'm not afraid of heights. Like I don't have any like post-traumatic, like anything like that.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah. And then I hope that when I'm like 65 and suddenly something triggers it and I'm like, ah!
I'm afraid of heights. Like, as I gotten older, I remember the day I was walking somewhere high and I looked down and I was like, ooh. It's like I feel like as soon as I look down, like my whole body's pulling me down.
Oh, yeah. depending on the scenario. I mean, I'm not like not human. Certain heights can be scary for sure.
But still, it's so interesting. I feel so connected to my body.
Yeah, but you're a dancer, so that makes sense.
Yeah, but like when my back went out and I couldn't walk, I was like, is it forever? Like I was like, I was panicking. I was like, they went to the doctor and he said, give it like 7 days. And I was like, fuck you. Like, there's no way that this pain, but I was just like that. I was depressed. Was there a moment that you saw the light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah, it was through my art, really. Because that was like, when I was recovering, that was during the time when I realized this is the kind of career I want. I really want to do a mural. And I remember thinking like, oh, how am I going to do a mural? I got to be able to like walk. And I would make my art and I would just like put it on Instagram and do whatever I could. But that was the time that I really honed in on what do I want in my life. I wanted to be an artist. I was like, visual art can be just as powerful as music or film, right? I'm like, can't it? Like, but you know, I wanted to paint, and my big dream was to paint a mural. I just thought painting something at such a large scale and it being like public facing felt like a way to contribute to humanity or something. I think my whole thing is impact. I want to make a positive impact, like a contribution to the world or whoever, to a community through art and whatever talents or gifts I had. I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do.
Part of my fascination with this whole idea of the whitewater is that only half the story is going out. The other half is coming back. If you have no idea what I mean when I say whitewater, briefly, whitewater is a surf metaphor I use to describe the seminal difference between thinking and doing. It's a period of uncertainty, that critical, transformative, transitionary phase where we leave our comfort zone and ride the wave toward our dreams. I actually put together a short series unpacking the metaphor. It's the first 4 episodes of this podcast. They're short, I swear. Go listen. When I talk about whitewater, it's like first you have to step into the whitewater. You have to enter the whitewater to catch the wave. But it's funny because it's like your story is as if you just got like kicked off a boat. Like, you know, it's like you're in a storm and you go flying off the boat into the water, and then it's like waiting for wind and understanding weather and your conditions for your perfect wave.
Yeah.
Creative urgency is the thing that calls you to the wave. So you got to be at the right time at the right place.
Yeah.
And then you like catch a wave, and then you have to go back through the white water. And sometimes you come back and like you've changed, but everything else is the same.
Yeah.
So talk about that, you know, this process of like, okay, you're healing. Now you're transitioning back to LA, which is sending you back into this period of uncertainty, the whitewater.
Yeah. I definitely struggled for like a few years. Part of me feels like I went back almost too soon because I just wanted my friends back. I wanted my familiarity back and how much fun we all had. Coming back, I was definitely different because I was still just like tense, and it was like I wasn't meshing with that friend group socially in the same way or well anymore. And I feel like there was just awkwardness with all of us. Before my accident, we were just such a cool group. We had our dudes, our girls, and it was so fun. We were always having so much fun, and I just loved it. And I felt like I belonged to like my little community, and everyone was like doing cool stuff. Like one of them was an artist doing murals, and then the other one was a singer signed with a label. One was a photographer, one was a makeup art. Like we were all like our little things. And it just everything got like dismantled. It sucked.
That's crazy though. Mm-hmm. I'm so sorry to hear that you had that experience with your friend.
Yeah, it's okay. I feel like at the time she was so young, and I don't think she knew what was actually going on. She should have called the ambulance. I feel
like if you're weeks later still being like, don't tell her mom, like...
Yeah, that's a little weird.
That's on you now. We can't blame the alcohol or, you know, like that's on you.
Yeah.
But I do think that some people get so obsessed with their own shame. You know, it's like your truth can't be real because it forces me to look at my shame.
Yeah. After finding all that out, I was hurt. I didn't want to talk to her. And then afterwards, I like tried to be friends again and like forgive.
Oh, wow.
Because I just wanted my friends back. I wanted my familiarity back and how much fun we all had. But then it just didn't work. And so when I came back to LA, I was like hurt by a lot of things. It wasn't the best going back, but I like had to be back. I was like, I have to get out of my mom's house. I need to like live by myself and
to move on.
and to move on in my life. Yeah.
I've had this experience a few times where now I would recognize it, but before you come back home or whatever and you feel like, man, I'm such a weirdo.
Yeah.
You feel like, man, like, I just don't match. Like, I'm so uncool or I'm weird.
Yeah.
Or I'm like, oh, I'm too aggressive. I'm too loud. I'm too,
Yeah.
But I've learned that it's not because I'm, lesser than.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm just different. I've changed.
Yeah.
So the dynamics, how you relate to people.
Yeah.
They may or may not leave your life, but you might not do the same thing.
Totally.
Her body, of course, had also changed.
The one thing I noticed was just how much more restricted I was with my body. I had like chronic pain. Like I was always in pain. I couldn't sit in chairs for a while. I had more of a limp during that time. And I walked a little bit funny, but it was weird because it's like if you looked at me, you wouldn't be able to like understand, oh, she has an injury. It just looked like I walk weird. And like it's like it was just like a weird, like a weird, like you're a little goofy over there. I would go to parties with a cane. Like I used to need a cane and I painted it and made it like all like cool. And
I can imagine you 100% with a cane.
I was like, I am not going to miss out on my 20s and having fun. And I remember people would think that I had a cane as if it was like my prop or like my gimmick or something. And it's just like, yeah.
It's like, where's your parrot?
Yeah. Or like, but I'm like, no, I actually am like broken. I just literally have like profound nerve damage and all sorts of stuff. But my art was the force. Like that was like everything. I was just making stuff, like whatever I felt. And this is where the monster stuff started coming up too. I remember making this one art piece where I was trying to make a piece about pain, about the pain I was feeling. And I drew this like head. It was scratchy. It was like red paint. And then that morphed into this like face that just came about. I knew I wanted to make some sort of monstrous type of face, and it just became that. The first, what you could say, prototype of the monster face was this weird, like, unicorn, like, seahorse head looking thing. And I was like, that is not it. And then I switched to, like, just this, it felt like disarray or the feeling of just incoherence. And that became, like, the scratchy, like a pencil scratch or a charcoal, like, scratches. That was first meant to signify like pain, but then it morphed into this character that I realized was my shadow self inside of me that I was kind of like playing with, and then it evolved into what it is now.
So as her body is healing, her self-expression, her art is evolving. A bag over the head became a red unicorn seahorse head looking thing, before transforming into the monster head that has become one of Victoria's signatures, a face that I and many others know and strangely identify with. I think the thing that attracted me to the monster faces was the internal chaos and disorder that I was feeling, particularly the time that I met Victoria. Listening to her talk about it now, I understand that there was something about her shadow self, her making sense of her own disorder that I was relating to, that I understood. I had similar monsters.
They've more so become like characters in my head. So like they're the shadow aspect of my psyche or of my humanness. I figured out a way of like, okay, how can I define my discomfort or whatever like shadow side that's inside of me I want to bring out and put it into this form. And I found that if I personified whatever that was into these like characters, whether it was cool, sexy girls with fucked up monster faces or whatever, different aspects of myself, if I personified them into these like characters by putting them out on paper, I was better able to observe them, and they became less powerful, or like they became less scary, less serious to me, and then I was able to be in control of it. And that became a form of alchemy. I remember I was very inspired by Tracy Emin, iconic artist from the UK, and she wrote a lot on her works. I was inspired by one of her pieces and shows called Is Something Wrong? She would write in this type of writing that was very, it was like very messy, very like, something's wrong. I don't know. But I would start writing on my artwork. And I remember I was on the phone with my friend and I was giving him a compliment and he's like, oh yeah, talk dirty to my ego. And I was like, oh, that's great. And I like wrote that in my art piece and I made like a monster, like being like doing, I don't know. One of the pieces I made was reflective of a time right before my accident. I remember like everything being about being super skinny and this and that. And then like between 2015 and then 2016, I was recovering. From what I remember, like the Kardashians just started blowing up. And like suddenly when I came back to LA, it was all about like big butts and like, like butts were the thing. And I remember noticing that distinction so clearly. Mm-hmm. And so I made this one art piece of this monster girl holding her like butt. And it's like huge butt and it was like a 6-foot drawing. And I named it Odyssey. And and it was just about how like the female body is just so, how can a body be a trend? But anyways.
It's like a part of my brain that feels like our obsession with female bodies is the thing that should remind any of us that we are actually just animals at the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, I just remember that was when like Kim Kardashian and her butt was like such a thing. And then
don't worry, skinny's coming back in.
Apparently, God. I mean, I didn't like either of the stuff.
Skinny is coming back. What's going to be next? Maybe tits are coming back. Maybe tits will be the new.
It's so crazy. It's like, do we have that for men? Like, biceps are in this season. Like,
no, they go from skinny jeans to baggy jeans.
Yeah. Or like...
It's too bad if you don't have nice legs for the skinny jeans. It was during this pause, this forced extraction from everyday life, that Victoria really embraced her path, her purpose, her identity as an artist. It's a transformation that sounds so easy. I mean, you heard us laughing earlier. I'm an artist. Before the accident, Victoria was already talented. She was producing work and getting paid to create graphic illustrations for a popular retailer, but you really can't understate the sheer emotional, spiritual lift that is required to do something that risks putting your whole livelihood at stake. To forgo the things that bring safety and security in a way that a quote-unquote regular job might provide a steady paycheck and health insurance. To give that up to ruthlessly pursue the thing that at once burns in your heart, but that is also an objectively unreliable means of employment is, I suppose, an incredible way of honoring one's potential.
Honestly, looking back, I'm so glad I had such a deep sense of my purpose and what I wanted in my life. And I knew from like a core, unexplainable, it was just a knowing that I never questioned. I was like, I'm an artist and this is what I'm doing.
And this was after the accident or even before?
I always knew I loved doing art, but after the accident, I was like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do now. I felt like at that point I had nothing to lose because I already lost everything. So I'm just going to do what I want to do. It's crazy because I look back at that, like I wouldn't feel safe doing that now. Decided to go all in, being like a painter. My spirituality profoundly increased, where it was like at that point, it was like something higher came into play with my life, my daily life, and something in me was guiding me. And I also wasn't afraid that it might be hard. I didn't even try to get a job or anything like that. I don't know how I did it. I think I was just doing like little projects here and there, like graphic design stuff while making my art. And then the other job I had before, I was gone for too long, so they just didn't take me back. And so I was just like, all right, I'm going to be an artist and do this full on, even though I don't know anybody. I don't know anything about the art world at this time. And slowly I made friendships with certain people that just, like, this is where it's like the universe comes into play, or the divine, where I cannot explain how, like I could not have made the stuff happen that have happened. Like the people that I've met that then introduced me to this person, which then I got this gig from. And then from that, it led to this.
Well, it's interesting because it's been a full decade. It's like 10 years.
So crazy.
Have you had when was your accident?
2015.
But what?
September 3rd.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You have a little party? So we like all jump off the balcony. I'm just kidding. No. But yeah, 10 years.
God, that's so crazy. Time goes by so fast.
Is there anything else you would say about what the experience taught you? Especially 10 years out. How has it shaped your point of view?
I think it just brought me to my work and my purpose more. It's like when you can't use your body, you use your internal faculties. And so my mind really expanded. I absorbed so much information and taught myself so many things. That was when I really dove into the power of the mind and how your feelings and your thoughts are so significant, because I feel like that's what contributed to me healing as well as I did. And being able to get back in LA and be an artist, it was just choosing to believe in myself. Because if I were to choose to be like, I'm so depressed, why me? Why is this happening to me? I could have easily chosen that. But I realized that wait, no, I can create whatever I want. And so if I can do that, then I'm going to do exactly what I want in life and be an artist. I would do sessions with myself where I'd visualize myself walking on the street with my friends and trying to be I'm back home. I'm not at my mom's house anymore. Everything's good.
What's so funny? It's I'm coming back to now how we started. We were talking earlier about the tortoise.
Yeah.
And how all of a sudden life is stop.
Yeah.
And so your life slowed down.
Oh my God. Everything.
And in a year, which feels like a long time, someone's like, look, you need to take the next year and you're going to be a painter. You'd be like, who has a year for that?
Yeah.
But yeah, the fact that you in the stillness, right? And you're forced stasis, right? You have these crazy mental strides.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that realization for some people could take them 20 years.
That's a good point. Yeah. It's sometimes they say having trauma can really just set you in motion on a certain direction. I mean, I don't think you have to fall off a building to know what you want to do in life, but that was just maybe I was totally on the wrong. I've heard stuff like that, people who have near-death experiences, they were just on the wrong path in their life. And so they got reset by some crazy traumatic thing. I mean, I question it often because I'm why did that happen? But I think my soul agreed to it before I came into this life.
So what's next for you? What are you excited about?
I'm excited for this new body of work that I'm doing, my show. This is a pivotal moment in my artistic expression where I'm expressing something so vulnerable. But I'm also very excited in terms of just me as a person. I feel I'm discovering more of who I am more than ever. And I trust myself so much more. And I feel I'm entering a new paradigm where instead of looking at the external to validate me or be my source of stability, I feel I have that in myself. And because I'm anchored in myself, being I am stability, I am the validation that I need. I'm the source of everything I seek outside of me. Mm-hmm. And that's not to say we're human beings. We all need love and we all need validation in some level and assurance and stability. We're humans, but I just have this deeper rooted understanding that I am the source of all things that I search for. It's when you're rooted to safety in yourself, then your reality in your life reflects that back to you. So I'm really working on anchoring into that and mastering that, especially with my work and with my day-to-day life. So I feel I'm entering this new paradigm in my own personal world where when work opportunities come in, I would always have so much anxiousness around that opportunity. What if they don't like my work? What if they say they want to work with me and then they don't anymore? And da-da-da. I'm kind of more in this peaceful place of surrendering to the flow of life because I know that I'm the only constant and everything around me is always going to be impermanent and moving. It's a different state of being that I feel I'm entering into that I have not mastered, but I feel closer to. And I've found so much more freedom in that state. So I'm excited to see what happens in my life from that. And I already feel my art changing so much because of that, because I'm not making art to prove myself anymore.
In her book, Michelle Obama wrote, "Becoming is never giving up on the idea that there's more growing to be done." A pretty beautiful and concise way of saying that we can impress even our own imaginations as long as we keep learning, keep evolving, and stay positive in the face of defeat, maybe in the pursuit of something more. To me, Victoria's story serves as an incredible reminder that as long as our minds stay open, we are never done becoming who we are. And that is a beautiful thing. I kind of feel like you're back in the whitewater right now.
Yeah, waiting for my next wave.
And not to say that you're quote unquote over the monster faces, but you're doing something else right now.
Yeah, and I know what my next body of work is going to be after this, and it's going to be completely different.
Oh, cool.
It's going to involve like AI, or like they've talked a lot about like, does AI atrophy our ability to cognitively think for ourselves? Studies are showing it does, but I'm wondering how it plays into like our spiritual evolution as people. It's going to be all charcoal and pencil drawing.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's so interesting because I feel like people don't spend time thinking anymore. You don't think when you're staring at your phone.
Yeah.
You think you're learning.
Yeah.
But you're not, like, there's no critical analysis happening.
Yeah, now you can just ask a question and be given back like an optimized answer.
Optimized.
Yeah. Things are thinking for us. And that's scary.
Yeah.
Like, that's
true.
trippy. I mean, life is always going to change for everybody, but it's just a matter of like, what are you using as fuel? What are you choosing to transmute into work?
Whitewater is written, hosted, and produced by myself, Maya Geis, founder at Panakin Studios. Dylan Agajanian is responsible for the original music and sound design. Dylan also mixed and mastered today's episode. Panakin Studios is an interdisciplinary shop of thinkers and doers. Medium agnostic, we're half think tank, half content studio, creating a whole machine that produces news stories for smart audiences. Learn more at www.panakin.co.